Hi and welcome to WA Blinko. I'm your host Wayne, and if you're unfamiliar with this channel, this is my video vlog of my self-publishing journey. Something that you'll be told a lot, and it is well worth taking the advice, is get yourself onto a podcast. But in typical Wayne Blinko fashion, I've done it the other way around. Now I have a podcast basically to connect with my audience because my genre is science fiction. So I have a podcast and YouTube channel, TikTok channel, and now Clapper, to basically engage with people that enjoy science fiction and say, hey, if you enjoy Star Wars, Star Trek, Battlestar Galactica, that kind of stuff, then chances are you're going to enjoy my book. So why not give me a shout, because we're friends on these platforms. That's the idea. It is working out okay. I'm picking up a few sales here and there from TikTok. Clapper's a little bit early to judge, because I haven't been on that platform very long. I've only been there for about a week. But the podcast has been going for a little while. I do it on a weekly basis now. And what I did was, in order to have a guest come onto the podcast, I put an advert. And when I say advert, this is just a comment on, I think it's the Facebook page, Authors Helping Other Authors. Essentially, all I did was put a post up saying, hey, I've got a science fiction podcast and I'd be really intrigued and grateful if somebody within the writing community came on board and we discuss your book and promote it and so on and so forth. Out of the group, I had a response of about 4 people, so not a big response, but I didn't know what to expect. So my expectations were, if one person replies, then that's a good thing. Out of the people that replied, I looked at their profile, their content and their books to see whether or not that would be a fit for me, and the person that I chose I feel is a really good fit, and this is something that I think will benefit both of us in the future. The chap's name is Asa Rodriguez, and a link to his book and the interview itself is down below. So if you want to watch the interview, that's where you'll find it. The interview itself went really, really well. A few things that I will say is, if you're going to do an interview with somebody on a different continent or a different time zone, is you've got to really match that up and be prepared to either be up late or be up early. Another thing to consider is find out when their clocks change. And I say that because I was under the impression that because our clocks in the UK change at the end of March, then everybody else's clocks around the world would change at the same time. It just makes sense, doesn't it? However, time doesn't work like that. So his clock changed before our clocks did. So when I made the initial agreement and we set the time and date, it was out by an hour. So unfortunately for Asa, he was sat in front of his screen waiting for me to call, and then by the time I did make that call, thinking that I'd made it at the right time, I was in that same position as well. It was resolved relatively easily. We just spoke to each other and said, hey, I tried. He said, hey, I tried. And then by watching other content creators on YouTube, I kind of got the idea that some clocks in America have changed their times before everybody else has. So I just asked that question, said, has your clock gone forward? And it turns out that it has. So we arranged for another date and time with that knowledge. So it was dead easy to do. The equipment that I've used is just a simple laptop computer, and we used Skype. I looked into, I googled what's the best way of recording a video call for podcasts, and Skype was the platform that came out on top. It was the one that was mostly recommended. So Asad downloaded Skype himself. He hadn't used that before, so he was able to use it relatively easily. I've only used Skype occasionally, so I was a little bit of a novice. Overall, the interview went really, really well. The quality of the call is good for about 98 to 97% of the time. So the conversation lasted for about 45 minutes, and due to just losing connection at brief segments, I've had to edit those bits out for the listeners of the podcast, and it is also on my YouTube channel. So if you want to watch the interview and find out and get another perspective of how it works and see if it's something that you'd be interested in doing, I've linked it down below, and I've also linked Asa's book down below as well as my book. And thank you very much for stopping by. If you've got any questions, put them in the comments section below. And if you've got any tips or suggestions on how to do a podcast yourself and you want to let us know, that'd be great. Because these videos are essentially to help the self-publishing community. As I learn, I'm hoping you guys can learn, and vice versa. So thank you very much for stopping by, and I will see you next time. Cheers.